All right, Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness, take 2. Go, Eric.
All right, so I went into that with some pretty high hope, high expectation. I really liked the first movie for one.
Absolutely. He was a smart character. Don't put up with no shit.
Yeah, and yeah, no, he was portrayed really consistent, and the origin story was all consistent, and every bit as good as Iron Man as far as keeping it consistent with the original story of Doctor Strange, and
we're staying on impressions, yeah.
And then this Multiverse of Madness, I was really, really seriously looking forward to it. Besides it being
Sam Raimi,
another Doctor Strange film, but yeah, Sam Raimi directing, and it just, I think I set myself up for disappointment because I was really expecting a lot from it, and I didn't get nearly what I expected.
All right, I have a different outlook on it. I was hoping that it would somehow be as good because my introduction to Marvel Comics was through the What If books, the Multiverse. I know some people can't handle that because they say it's bad writing, but I think it takes a lot of writing to be creative when you have to make something interesting out of a story that has already been set in stone. But beyond that, I didn't have hopes because of Sam Raimi. You and Rigby getting all wet and excited because Sam Raimi, what was it? Evil Dead. Those are horrible movies.
Yeah, but he did the Spidey films, and everybody liked them. So
the second one was the best out of the 3. So I was just guarded hopeful. This is also after. This also has to do with the Last Jedi effect. Like, how are they going to cornhole this thing?
Well, see, the whole thing with Sam Raimi, though, to me, I got the impression, and I don't know, this is just my impression, I got no facts or any other information to reinforce this, but it just seemed to me that when Sony was going to pull Tom Holland out of the MCU, and Marvel came to the agreement that they did to keep him in their cinematic universe, and the next thing we get is the crossover with the Sony with Tobey Maguire and
Garfield
and Andrew Garfield, and then the next thing you hear is that Sam Raimi is going to direct the new Doctor Strange, which Doctor Strange was part of that Spidey crossover.
And Doctor Strange is so cool because of the weird hypno 60s comics that he was in. That's why he's great. And he's actually portrayed.
And, I mean, well. all the Steve Ditko illustrations of all of it, the Mystic Realm and everything that Steve Ditko did with that title.
And the first Doctor Strange movie was really good. I don't care what you say.
No, it was really good, and taking him into the Multiverse of Madness made sense to a point. I mean, since they were in the multiversal phase of the films, and
wasn't that the opening of it? Because it had been in the What If cartoons.
Well, that and
this was like the big, ta-da!
And as a follow up to the Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yes.
And it just. It wasn't as maddening as I expected. It was supposed to be the Multiverse of Madness. It was supposed to be like really just nutso and crazy, and it really wasn't. And
like if they had a claymation section where everybody was a Disney character, right? That might have been slightly entertaining.
Well, I don't know. It seemed to me to be a vehicle to bring a bunch of the what if ideas into the live action.
And the fan favorites.
Like Captain Carter and zombies and, the other one
Professor X.
And when
Black Bolt.
When the one where Doctor Strange broke the unbreakable
Code.
incident, and it destroyed the entire universe he was in.
Oh, he used
And
the
they
Darkhold.
featured that universe in the film, and so it was almost as if it was crafted to include some of these what if things,
Which I think is actually a mistake.
into the live action MCU proper, which wasn't necessary because all the what ifs were part of the MCU proper in alternate iterations. As far as I don't know.
Now it's fine to have the little Easter eggs of Captain Carter and Professor X and the Black Bolt from the failed show and all
Yeah,
that.
and even
blah blah blah.
Maria Rambeau as Captain Marvel.
Yeah, like it should have been done originally, but that's a whole other video. So
And just the fact that they called themselves the Illuminati, and Doctor Strange didn't seem like he had ever heard the word before.
yeah, that did seem kind of odd.
Now, that could be taken two ways. I would rather take it the latter. I would rather take it that he couldn't believe his ears that some supergroup was calling themselves the Illuminati when, that was not how he associated it from his world. But it just wasn't very clear.
Given
Just his response, the Illuminati, was
Yeah.
like either he had never heard the word before or he couldn't believe his ears that
So-
somebody was
so-
calling themselves
So
that.
that's wrong to begin with because he's super smart. I mean, he's
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about Chuck Mangione. So come on, you got to be deep in the wheelhouse to know about Chuck Mangione.
And you think that somebody like Stephen Strange, the
Wouldn't have the clue in on everything on that world and even other worlds because he talked about that when he was talking to Thor.
yes,
Yeah. So he can't be this idiot and then also super smart when he needs to be. It's either one or the other.
yeah, and it just
And since he was portrayed as super smart,
he's
then keep
master
him
of the
super
mystic
smart.
arts.
Yeah.
And you would think he would have heard the term Illuminati at some point.
Absolutely, he would have. So that was just stupid. That was bad writing.
And again, I would rather just take it that he couldn't believe his ears that there was this super group calling themselves the Illuminati
But
on
you're-
this
you're-
alternate
But
world.
Eric, you're the eternal optimist.
But I mean,
You are. You were the eternal
Again.
optimist.
that's me reading into it.
Yeah.
Anybody else would have just be like, they never heard the word before.
Because he did act like he had, like, we did. Yeah, like he had never heard it before. Which,
Right.
given that he was a doctor, he would have had to have come across it anyway, some way.
And just somewhere in his mystic training,
Yes.
he would have come across
That word.
the Illuminati group from Earth 616
Yes.
and what they were about,
And not even necessarily the one that was portrayed in the comics. That
no,
Illuminati, the
No.
actual historical Illuminati group.
right, because they named themselves after that group.
Yes.
You would think. I mean, the comics have done that. They take things out of context all the time and they use names and words and things, but that one in particular
Irks you.
just seems like his reaction to it should have been a little bit more like, are you kidding me? Really?
Or like, oh, them. Or like, he already knew what the hell was going on. He's like,
Yeah.
well, it's about time. And he starts rattling off these names. And then Mordo looks at him like, who the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Like, no, sir. This is how it is here. That would have been a nice way to contrast. To imply that there's a 616 Illuminati, which
Yeah.
you could then introduce characters that aren't in the movies yet. And here I am writing for fucking Marvel Comics again. Kevin Feige writing for the MCU. And am I getting paid for it? No. So, like, share, and subscribe.